Hey everybody, welcome to new fire alarm devices for December 2017 and January and February 2018. So I know a lot of you guys in the comments have been asking, well, where'd the videos go? Um, it's just that I haven't had a ton of time to make this particular series of videos, or any videos really, over the past couple months. And as you can see, with 3 months having passed, I don't have a whole lot of stuff laid out here. So that's kind of why the videos have slowed down. That's just because of how I'm living right now with college. Got a lot of stuff up there, but not really able to film as many videos as I once was. But that'll pick back up in the spring and summer. I'll be back to filming videos like normal for the time being, and probably back to purchasing a lot more stuff as more like building demolitions come up in the summer when it's nicer out and I'm able to get more devices. The whole buying and selling thing where I get most of these devices usually slows down in the winter anyway, so this is kind of expected. But anyways, with the stuff we have here today, let's go ahead and get started. First up, we have this Kidde B5 pull station. I ordered this back towards the end of November and it finally came in early December, so this I guess is like the oldest device from the period of time where I got them. So, this is a really unique pull station. I love the kind of 1970s angled design on here. It's got the clear acrylic lift cover, and flip it over to the back without snapping the cover, that'd be nice. You take a closer look at the label. You can see that this was labeled as being from the Douglas Randall division of Kidde, which is interesting. And it was manufactured, well, it's hard to read on this one, but on some of the other ones I have, you can see this really clearly that this is May 7th, 1984. So, I did buy a larger group of these. I have some of them for sale on eBay. Depending on how quickly or well they'll sell, I might pull another one or two out of that group to keep for my collection. But for right now, this is the one I'm hanging on to. So let's move along. Next up, we have another Kidde device. This is a pressure-operated switch. It's part number 873752. There we go. A lot of times I see these listed as being model number 3PDT, and that seems more like the switch configuration that's on the inside, but it might actually double as the model number. It still has this kind of half of a piping union attached to it, but it's so ungodly corroded that that's not coming off anytime soon. So if we take a look at it, it's basically a red conduit back box with some other goodies attached to it. The piping inlet, of course. We have the operated and set switch up at the top. And then, of course, the large base. This is very similar to the pressure switch that's installed on my Ansel Auto Pulse system right now. Essentially, this would be connected to a pipe coming from the suppression agent tank. If it were to activate, it'll actuate the switch in here, which will cause an alarm. Normally, the system would already be an alarm because it would be the system triggering the activation. But if you had something like a maybe like a chain-operated system, or even in the chance of like an accidental discharge, if it was operated manually or accidentally without the system being an alarm, this would put the system into alarm and provide a warning that the system was discharging. So let's go ahead and move along. Next up, we have a Pyrotronics RM-30U module for a System 3. And if we zoom in on the tag on this device, you can see it is from the CO2 cylinder that was previously mentioned with that Kidde pressure-operated switch. I have two more of these, but they're currently installed on a little System 3 panel that I'm putting together, and if you know anything about those, the jumper cables between them are ridiculously hard to remove, so those two are just going to sit over there for now. And we'll take a look at this one. I just don't have enough jumper cables to install all three at the moment. So it's just your standard System 3 module, one module space. You have all the logic components in the relay inside there, and then the indicator on the front, and of course the pins for the jumper headers that go between each device. This device requires a external well, not really external, but a separate 24 volt DC input on terminals 1 and 2. Not truly external because it comes from terminals 37 and 38 on the CP35, but it doesn't draw its power straight from the jumper pin headers on the top. That's just so it can supply more power to the like the releasing circuit, which should be terminals 3 and 4. I think it can supply up to 1.5 amps at 24 volts DC to that circuit. And then it has dual activation terminals. Numbers 5 and 6 have to both be in a high going voltage state in order for the releasing circuit to be activated. So there's a couple cool possibilities that could be done with this. So let's move along again. Next up, we have a BC35 battery charger module for System 3. And you'll see that this one still has a cord running to it. And that's because the other end of this is still plugged into the system. Because just like with the other two RM30U modules, there is absolutely no way that I'm going to fight with this thing for another hour to get these cables unplugged. So we're just going to deal with it as it is. It actually took me a long time to get this one connected in because there was a jumper filling up the header on the CP35 where this battery cable plugs in, and there was really nowhere to grasp on that to actually pull it out. So that took a lot of finagling and about 2 hours of grunting at it until it finally came out with 2 screwdrivers and a pair of pliers. Anyways, so on the battery module here, you see we got some transfer relays on the top. We have another jumper header up here where you could connect in BE35 modules, I think, battery extenders to get additional charging current to be sent out to the batteries, which go on to terminals 1 and 2 there. Like I was just mentioning, this connects directly into a pin header on the CP35, and then from there it just takes over on the battery side of things. The transferring is all built in. You don't need a separate transfer module, although I know those are available for like external 24-volt power supplies that might be running into the system. But that's why you see so many cables running to this, because when you plug it into that header, it does send the power from the system over to this module, and basically passes it back through if it's not in a battery state. But obviously if the AC power dies, then the batteries then provide the power back to the system over those wires. And on System 3s there is an option to use 120 volt notification appliances, but obviously if you're using one of these with two 12 volt SLA batteries, that option is eliminated, and you can only use 24 volt notification appliances when this module is installed. So we're going to go ahead and move on to our last device now, which is also from a System 3. So our last device for today is this Cerberus Pyrotronics PM32 module. This is a programming matrix module, and this came in the same lot of devices as the 3 RM30Us and that Kidda pressure operated switch did, so I got these all together. Now this is a programming matrix module, and in the modern world of computing and, you know, Java and Python programming, that probably sounds a little bit misleading. What this allows you to do is, rather than any sort of like real techie programming, this allows you to implement diode logic. Essentially, it lets you connect multiple modules together to a common input on another module without shorting those modules back to each other, because every circuit going into this device is protected by diodes on every terminal. So for example, you'd be able to connect together, say, you know, 3 or 4 modules over here going to one output or going to several outputs. A common use would be interconnecting devices, for example, in maybe a 10-story building, where you would want every zone circuit to be able to activate the notification appliances directly above, on, and below the fire floor. I think if you look up the installation manual for this, that's the example it gives. I think they use an 11-story building with a basement, and that's about how many you can fit on here, assuming that every zone would be activating 3 alarms on the fire floor above and below. And basically that would just be a bunch of interconnected wiring. All of the zone inputs would come in on the left-hand side, and all of the NAC outputs, or their activation points, would be wired into the right-hand side. and it's basically just every set of 3 diodes would overlap with the set of 3 below, and that would allow you to get the behavior of activating the notification appliances on the respective floors. So, although it doesn't seem very high-tech with that word programming in there, you can actually do some pretty cool stuff with this, and when I finally get this System 3 all set up, I'm probably going to be using it in somewhat of that capacity of allowing certain notification appliances to activate in response to certain zone events. So that's all for today, or should I say that's all for the past 3 months in terms of new devices. For those of you who have been concerned about this video series, don't worry, I am continuing it. I'm probably going to be doing it in 3-month chunks over the winter, and then just the regular, every month production schedule that I'd been doing previously for this. And that just really depends on the amount of time that I have to make these videos, and then, how many actual devices I get, because if I would have done this video for December, the only thing in here would have been just the one Kidda pull station, and while that would be quick and easy to shoot, I think in December I was in a different location from where that pull station is, so that's kind of the thing. It's just, it's not so much a time issue. I have a lot of free time. It's just having all of the devices that I purchased in that period of time, plus my camera setup all together in the same place to be able to do these videos, and that opportunity usually comes only on on break weeks or stuff like that. So that's probably what I'll do for the next couple of years. I'll just do 3-month chunks, so there'll be a video over the winter in November, then in March, and then one will be around in May, and then we'll just dive right back into the monthly production of this. So that's for all you guys who have been leaving me comments about where the video series are. For everyone else, yeah, this is just a fun little thing I'll do when I get a chance to do it. So thanks again for watching, and have a great day.